One of the first things that I learned when I was first starting guitar, I didn't know many chord shapes. I knew a G, a C, and a D. I reached a point where I was getting frustrated and, to be honest, kind of bored with the chords that I was playing. So I thought, well, why don't I just mess around? And that's exactly what we're going to do today. But we're going to do so in a way that makes your chords sound pretty and beautiful. And you don't even have to know the reason why they sound beautiful.
Guitar Geeks Unite!
Can you really get better at guitar in just 10 minutes? Some say absolutely. Some say not a snowball's chance in hell. Well, I'll be digging into the science behind this in today's episode. You're also going to see a beautiful custom build from Tom Sands Guitars. We're going to be playing a really fun, interactive guitar opinion game that I think you'll find extremely educational, especially if you're brand new to the world of guitar. You're also going to hear a guitar story from John L. on how the guitar is his battle partner. But first, you know those common open chords that you use? Well, I'm going to show you a way to make those chords far more beautiful without having to know anything. No theory, no notes, no nothing. All you need are your fingers. Let's dig in.
This lesson is all about giving you permission to get weird. We're going to take your chords to the beauty salon. We're going to put some mascara on the chords. We're going to put a little nail polish on the chords. We might even put some cucumbers on your chords' eyes. I don't know, but we're going to make them pretty, okay? Without knowing anything. And I literally mean that. One of the first things that I learned when I was first starting guitar, I don't know if I even learned it. I just started messing around. See, the thing is, I didn't know many chord shapes. I knew a G, a C, and a D. C I was like real fuzzy on. But I could do the G, I could do the D. 50% of the time I could do the C. And I felt like, gosh, is this all I'm going to play? These chords sound good 80% of the time. Not the C, but you get the idea. And I feel like before I was going to add a bunch of new chords, I had to learn these chords. But I reached a point where I was getting frustrated and, to be honest, kind of bored with the chords that I was playing. So I thought, well, why don't I just mess around? And that's exactly what we're going to do today. But we're going to do so in a way that makes your chords sound pretty and beautiful. And you don't even have to know the reason why they sound beautiful. Let me explain. We're going to take a basic G chord, 3rd fret of the low E, 2nd fret of the A, 3rd fret of the high E. And then, sorry, I had to think about that. Then we're going to take a C chord, 3rd fret of the A, 2nd fret of the D, 1st fret of the B. And we're going to take a D chord, 2nd fret of the G, 3rd fret of the B, 2nd fret of the high E. We're going to take those chords and make them pretty. And all you have to do is move your fingers around. And you're going to say, Tony, where? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter where. If you've got a free finger, then place it somewhere and see what the results are. Okay, this is all about experimentation. This is all about having fun with the guitar, almost approaching it in a way that's like a kid, right? They don't think of things as good or bad. They don't think of things as successful or not. They're just trying things and seeing what sounds cool. That's exactly what we're going to do. No theory, no notes, no nothing. Just look at your fingers, move them to a different spot. What do I mean? Let's take the G chord, for example. And all I want you to do is take your index finger, that's free, place it on the 1st fret of the B string. That's pretty. That's pretty darn beautiful. What if we took one of the fretted fingers? What if we lift off our pinky finger off of that high E string? That doesn't sound as beautiful, but that's okay. What if we lifted off our pinky and put our index finger on the 1st fret of the high E? That's cool. What if we took our pinky finger and moved it up to the 3rd fret of the B string? That's pretty cool too. What if we took our middle finger and dropped it down to the 2nd fret of the G? Well, now we're talking. That's pretty. What if we took that same middle finger and moved it up to the 2nd fret of the D? That's pretty cool too. What about the 2nd fret of the A? Well, then we're back to a G. So all I'm telling you to do here is to move your fingers around, maintain some sense of the chord structure, but really just move your fingers. What does that turn into? You might be thinking to yourself right now, okay, neat, but what do I do with that? All I want you to do is maintain a basic strumming pattern and start experimenting with some of these things like this. Right? That's just a G chord. It's going to expose you to some things, some fun things you can do when you're staying on a G chord for 4, 5, 6 measures in a song. You can add these little flourishes, these little things that kind of, I don't know, give the chord a flowery texture, okay? Let's look at the C chord. It's the same idea. Move your fingers around, see what's available to you. I want you to start with your pinky finger on this one because it is free. It's not doing anything. Start with it open, right? Not doing anything. Then place your pinky finger on the 3rd fret of the high E string. That's cool. What if we moved your pinky finger up to the 3rd fret of the B string? Ooh. And since we're on the B string, let's just get weird. Let's take your index finger off of the B string entirely, leaving it open. All these different combinations will give you a little bit of different flavor, right? Think of it as like adding herbs or spices to your cooking. You know, just the right amount, not too much. It's just giving a little flavor, a little nuance. Whoops. Okay, let's take your pinky finger and grab the 3rd fret of the G string. Is that the G? Yeah, it's the G. That's a C7 chord, pretty cool. Okay, cool. Well, let's take the pinky finger off and let's mess with this middle finger going to the 2nd fret of the G. What if we took the pinky finger and grabbed the 3rd fret of the D? All these different options are right there under your fingers. Do you have to know what you're doing? Absolutely not. If you hit something that doesn't sound good, who cares? Just don't go there again. It's okay. This isn't a pass-fail situation. This is, okay, what's available to me right now? You know, you might only know 2, 3 chords. Then think to yourself, okay, well, what's available? What's available? What can I do to kind of mix things up a little bit? And the cool hidden benefit of this is you're going to start to develop fretting finger freedom. That's alliteration at its best. Fretting finger freedom, okay? And what that does is not only traces out a path as to what your options are, it gives you more confidence in your fretting fingers, kind of moving around the fretboard, knowing where that bass chord position is, but also knowing what your options are to make things sound interesting. Plus, overall, it's just going to build strength in your fretting hand as well. Let's just lastly take a look at the D chord because that's a fun one. This is the first one I really experimented with. And all you have to do, make that D chord, strum it once, cool. Take your pinky, lower it to the 3rd fret of the high E. Cool, lift it off again. Then lift up your middle finger off of the high E string. That's pretty cool. I dig that. It's very Led Zeppelin. It's very Crosby, Stills, Nash. It's very any folk artist, really. You can also take your pinky and grab the 4th fret of the G string. Right, that's an option. What if you take your index finger, grab the 2nd fret of the D string? Oh, that's cool. All these different options are right there under your fingers. And if I haven't made it clear yet, I hope to make it clear now. You don't have to know what you're doing. This is you putting on your mad scientist goggles, filling up the beakers, and just messing around. The guitar is fun, okay? Are there quote unquote, doozy notes that you're gonna hit? Probably. That's fine. The world's gonna keep spinning. Life's going to keep going on. The birds are going to keep chirping, but you're starting to forge this path of creativity with what you know. I don't like hearing beginner students or people that are kind of stuck in this phase of like, I know some chords, but I can't really do much with them. I don't like hearing that, because all you need is the license to say, okay, you know what you know. What's something different you can do with it? We're not introducing new chords. I mean, theoretically we are, but don't think of it like that. It's just hunt and peck, figure it out, figure out what sounds cool to you. In fact, when I first started playing, I created this song, and I actually still remember it. I'll play a little chunk of it. I think I still remember it. That just involves that D chord. It goes, Anyways, you get the idea. And it stemmed from me just goofing around. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what chords I was playing. I didn't know what notes I was hitting, but it didn't matter because I liked the sound of it. And you know what? Bottom line, if it sounds good, it is good.
I'm curious to know how that little mini lesson went for you. Maybe you had a breakthrough, maybe you had a light bulb moment. Please let me know in the comments below. And of course, if you have any questions, you can ask those questions in the comments as well. Now, I want to get to our guitar opinion game because I think we're going to have a lot of fun. And I also want to share with you what albums I've been listening to this week. It's a fun stack of albums this week. There's kind of a common thread between quite a few of them. You'll see those in a second, but first I wanted to share with you this beautiful guitar I got from Tom Sands. I had this commissioned probably back in 2021. It's here, it's a physical object, and I'm showing you this guitar to give you an example of what a modern steel string guitar sounds like. A lot of times when we're getting into the acoustic guitar world, we hear these terms getting thrown around. Modern steel string, vintage style steel string, what's the difference? I think this guitar encapsulates, if you will, what a modern steel string guitar sounds like, what a modern steel string guitar is known for. Its responsiveness, its brilliance, its crisp articulation without sacrificing any of the bass end or the depth of the guitar. It's a wonderful example, so please use this as an educational moment to kind of define for yourself what a modern steel string guitar sounds like.
So what makes this guitar special? What makes it sound like it does? Well, first off, you've got the way that Tom builds guitars. Okay, so we can set that over here on a shelf and just know that the way he voices, the way he builds the guitar, the way he braces it, the attention to detail, that has an enormous impact on how this instrument sounds. But what it's made of also has a pretty big impact as well. This top on this guitar is a redwood top. It is a beautiful piece of redwood. Redwood to me has elements of cedar, but it's a little bit more powerful. Cedar to me has a little bit more mellow, laid back feel, whereas redwood has a little bit more out front. At least that's my experience. I don't know if that's the quote unquote proper definition, but that's what I hear. A beautiful top, Brazilian rosewood bridge pins, bone saddle. You've got a beautiful copper rosette around the sound hole. It's got this cool geometric pattern in it. And right here between the D and the G string, you've got a cool little eye just looking at you. You know what I mean? The neck, I believe, is Spanish cedar. I don't think it's mahogany. I could be wrong. It's funny. I should know these specs because I helped pick out the individual pieces for this in many, many talks with Tom. But I'm pretty sure it's Spanish cedar. The fretboard, I had to check. I'm like, is it ebony? No, it's Brazilian rosewood fretboard, 1 3/4 bone nut, scalloped bone nut, which means in between the nut slots, there's a little material taken out. Just looks really cool. Brazilian rosewood head plate on this. Just stunning all around on the front. Love the fingerboard extension with the curl. Matches right here with the bridge. And one of the things that's interesting, this is bound in Brazilian rosewood as well. And when Tom was building it, he's like, what do you think of the color green? And in my mind, I'm like, what do you mean? What do I think of the color green? I don't want green on this guitar. And so he shows me some pictures of some purfling, and green is the option. Green is, I think, the only option. And I was like, eesh. He's like, hear me out. And I'm like, all right, you know what? You're the guitar builder here. You have an eye. You have a great aesthetic that I love. I trust you. Let's do it. So there's some green purfling around that brings out, the reason I bring up the green purfling is because it brings out the absolutely glorious Brazilian rosewood on the back and sides. You'll see this nice little kind of wedge here. That's another copper inset with an eye. Again, bound and surrounded by that green purfling. Just a gorgeous, gorgeous piece of Brazilian rosewood. As you can see the neck here, the back plate is also Brazilian rosewood Shaler tuners with ebony buttons. Just an overall complete package, aesthetically and sonically. I love the power that this particular guitar offers. I got this guitar at Fretboard Summit 2024, so right around the end of August 2024, right in time for my birthday. What a birthday gift. But here's the thing. This was not on display at Fretboard Summit. Tom didn't display any guitars at Fretboard Summit 2024. It just so happened that the completion of this guitar coincided with the Fretboard Summit. So what ended up happening is Tom's like, hey, I got your guitar done. I noticed Fretboard Summit's coming up. You're going, right? And I'm like, yeah, usually I do a workshop at Fretboard Summit. He says, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to fly out. I'm going to go to Fretboard Summit, and I'll bring you your guitar. And I thought to myself, this is the best. This is the best ever. This is pretty much the most amazing thing ever. And that's exactly what happened. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. Okay, to make matters worse, better, to make the anticipation even more, Fretboard Summit starts on a Thursday? It starts on a Thursday. So I see Tom, I'm excited. We're hanging out. Thursday ends. I don't see the guitar. Okay, fine. Friday, running into Tom again. We probably went out for dinner or hung out at least. He said, yeah, I got to get you your guitar. Yeah, okay. And then I'm like, what is the deal here? I just want to get this guitar in my hands. I just want to play it. I want to see it. I want to feel it. Saturday comes and goes. I think again, I didn't see the guitar at all. Finally, it's Sunday, and I know Tom has to leave. I could have my days mixed up a little bit. It's the last day, and I know Tom's got to leave. I still haven't even seen the guitar. Other people have seen the guitar. Isaac Jang is the number one culprit here. He's like, Tony, I played your guitar. And I'm like, I haven't even played the thing yet. Anyways, I finally get it. Go to Tom's Airbnb. My son Aiden was with me. Hung out. I played this guitar. Poor Aiden, and Tom for that matter. I probably sat there and played the guitar for 2 hours. I was just enveloped in sheer joy and just, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that the guitar was A, done, that it was B, mine, and C, that this cool kind of grouping of people took place. You know, I've got my son there, Tom's there, a ton of my guitar friends are there, builders, players, just guitar geeks in general. So to have all that surrounding this, it just brings back that moment for me. Couldn't be more delighted that I got it home safely. Was able to bring it on the plane, went into the little cool closet. Nonetheless, all that kind of wraps up into this guitar. So this guitar not only, I think, is an exceptional specimen of an incredible modern style flat top steel string guitar, I think this guitar represents just those friendships and that period of time, Fretboard Summit 2024. So Just a huge, huge fan of this guitar. I couldn't be any more grateful that this guitar is in my life.
So you're sitting there asking yourself, Tone, what have you been listening to this week? Well, I'm so glad that you asked, because I've got a stack of albums over here that are hot. They're so hot, they're on fire pretty much. First up, Muddy Waters' Hard Again. This is one of my favorite blues albums of all time. This is Muddy Waters coming back to music after kind of a, we'll call it a low point in his career. This is an album my brother and I bond over frequently. We always text each other when we're listening to it. Favorite track on that is Mannish Boy, without a doubt. And speaking of Muddy Waters, Johnny Winter, still alive and well. Johnny Winter, Muddy Waters? Yes, Johnny Winter produced Muddy Waters' Hard Again album. And this album, Still Alive and Well by Johnny Winter, features Rick Derringer, Johnny Winter, of course. And to me, this is one of the best rock and roll / blues albums that exists. I used to listen to this on my way to school on the train every morning when I was going to school in Chicago. So it brings back all the memories there. And speaking of Johnny Winter and Rick Derringer, we've got Edgar Winter's Roadwork. This is one of the best live albums, period. And I blame it on my dad. I think we used to play this album every single weekend for a good long spell. And it's just a great live album, great guitar work. The best track on that is Tobacco Road. It takes up an entire side of an album, or of a disc. And there's this cool intro that Edgar Winter does. He's on the piano and he's like going this vocal part, and then he mimics it on the piano. I don't do it as well as Edgar Winter does. I know you're shocked by that, but you've got to hear it if you haven't heard it. Just a classic. Speaking of classics, next up, Jolene by Dolly Parton. Yes, it's a classic. You have to own this album. If you don't own this album, what are you doing? What are you doing? You got to hear it. For if anything, just for the song Jolene. The guitar on Jolene is so awesome, and it just sounds so good. Anyways, last up, Robert Earl Keen, Happy Prisoner. I feel like Robert Earl Keen is known more as a singer-songwriter, folk, Americana. I don't really love that term, but maybe even country. But this is straight ahead bluegrass, and the way that he sings is just a great fit for bluegrass. So that's a killer album. What I think is maybe an under-the-radar album. So that's what I've been listening to. What have you been listening to? Let me know in the comments below. Selfishly, I love discovering new artists. So let me know in the comments what you've been listening to. Somebody new that you're like, yeah, this is it. This is it. Let me know, because I love discovering new music. Next up, I got a couple bits of acoustic news for you. Maybe less acoustic news and more. Just want to let you know about these guitars from Martin. You know, every year Martin lists the guitars that are new for the year, and I've got 3 of them here. Sometimes I love these guitars, sometimes I don't like them, and sometimes I'm just like, meh. These guitars represent each of those categories. First up, the Martin CEO 11. I'm kind of like meh, but I do think it's a really cool guitar. The blue burst is really cool. The inlay's cool on it. All in all, great job on the CEO 11. I'm a little skewed because I think the price is a little high. It's about $7,000. I always thought the CEO series was your ability to get a cool guitar from Martin with maybe unusual specs at a lower price, but maybe that was never the main mission of the CEO series. I don't know, but that's my take on it. Next, the Grand J28E. This is a double-necked acoustic guitar, 6-string on the lower part, 12-string on the higher part. I'm pretty sure that's the orientation. I don't know. I betcha somebody could use this and it would blow my mind. And the first person I think of is Nathaniel Murphy from Chicago. He does such cool tapping and great arrangements, and he's done double neck stuff before. I think this would be a cool fit for him. But personally, I don't love this guitar. I think it's bizarre. For $8,000, I'd like to get a really good 6-string and a really good 12-string and have them separate, not joined. But I could see, I mean, it's existed in the past, so why not try it again? I mean, they might be onto something here. And then lastly, the 000C Junior E bass. Home run, grand slam, game-winning field goal, overtime winner. This is awesome. For $800, you get kind of a short bass, acoustic bass. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Plug it in, do some EQ on it, and it would sound so cool. It probably sounds awesome, you know, right out of the gate, just acoustic. Haven't had a chance to play that, but it's on my list because it's just a very, very compelling, cool guitar, cool bass guitar from Martin. They used to do a bass in the 15 series, all mahogany. My dad, I think, has one. Also a great guitar. Not sure why they discontinued it. Maybe issues with the bridge lifting. It's a lot of tension on an acoustic guitar top. But that smaller packaging on that 000C Junior E bass probably has decent stability. I bet you they probably won't run into any issues with that. Anyways, this leads directly into the trivia question, specifically involving the CEO series. So here's your trivia question for the day. In what year did Martin start the CEO series with the CEO1, a mahogany dreadnought based on the SPD-16T with a mortise and tenon neck, hex outline inlays on the fingerboard and bridge, abalone rosette, N20 style body bindings, ebony tuner buttons, and a tweed case? In what year did Martin start the CEO series? Let me know your best guess in the comments below. This is one that really surprised me. I'd do some digging on this one, but it really did surprise me. And now it's time. Now it's time. I hope you're ready. This is going to be our first game of this or that on the Acoustic Tuesday show. In Acoustic Tuesday history, this is the first game of this or that. If you're not familiar with the game, I pose to you two options, this or that. And you just quite simply pick one. But there's a little bit of a twist on this one because I think the guitar community is so infused with opinions that people can become almost dogmatic about them. And that's okay, I have those too. You probably have those too, and that's fine. But I wanted to do a this or that and bring in a little bit of an educational aspect of it because a lot of people watching the show are brand new to guitar, or maybe they're just starting to kind of do their research in the guitar world. And I think this would be a great tool for them in a fun way. So let's go ahead and play. I pose to you two options, you pick one or the other. You can even let me know in the comments below. It'd be fun to do it in an interactive way like that. So first up, this or that. Bound guitar or unbound guitar. Now, binding is just that thin strip of plastic that kind of borders the top of the guitar and sometimes the back of the guitar as well. So do you like a bound guitar? Do you like an unbound guitar? But here's the deal. A lot of times people don't think about binding as something that affects the guitar in any way, shape, or form. It's purely decorative, right? Nope, it's not. If you've ever hit an unbound guitar on something, the chances of there being a solid dent in the side of your guitar is pretty big. And also the chances of the top kind of separating from the side is also pretty big. However, with a bound guitar, you have a little bit of protection. So yes, it looks pretty, but it also serves a purpose as well. Let me know in the comments which you prefer. This next one's easy. Sunburst finish or natural finish? This or that? For me, I like sunburst. No, I like natural. I like natural. I switched it natural. And as far as the category before, I like a bound guitar for the very reason that I mentioned. So sunburst or natural? I favor the natural. Sunburst is really cool though. This is a tough one. This is purely aesthetic as well, right? Yeah, it kind of is. Which one do you favor? It doesn't really matter, right? Sunburst or natural. There's some guitar building magic that goes into that. Sometimes on a sunburst guitar, you can get away with a little bit more because there's that dark edge, but it's purely aesthetic. We'll just call it aesthetic for right now. Next up, rosewood or mahogany. And I'm talking the back and sides of a guitar. Do you like rosewood or do you like mahogany? You know, if you asked me 2 years ago, I would have said rosewood. I'm kind of leaning on the mahogany end of things. They're just quite simply two different sounds. Rosewood is kind of mid-scooped. You get really nice highs, you get really nice lows, and the middle is just kind of gone. Mahogany is just even keel. Each note speaks pretty clear. Each note is dry, woody, warm. So yeah, I think today, if I was pressed to answer, it'd be mahogany. Next up, this one's an easy one. No explanation needed. Quite simply, blues or rock and roll? Which one do you like? I'm a blues guy. I'm a blues guy. Although I do like rock and roll, had to pick one, it'd be blues. Next up, slotted headstock or unslotted headstock. Which one do you prefer? I gotta be honest, unslotted headstock here. Unslotted headstock, way easier to change strings, and that's really the only reason. Although there is a benefit to having a slotted headstock. The pressure from the strings actually is a little bit harder on the nut, so I think you get better vibration transfer. I think a slotted headstock actually does sound very subtly different than a standard solid peg head. But all in all, I like the solid peg head. It's way easier to maintain, way easier to change strings. Next up, Gibson scale length, 24.9 inches, or Martin scale length, 25.5 inches, just shy of 25.5 inches. I actually favor the longer scale length. I have guitars of each, but that longer scale length gives the strings some snap. The strings have a little bit more resistance against the pick, so I really enjoy that longer scale length. Now, you're thinking scale length, what is he even talking about? Scale length is just the distance from the nut of the guitar on the headstock, the little white part, to the saddle of the guitar, which is on the bridge, basically where the strings initially contact the guitar top. So that's the length. Gibson scale length is 24.9 inches. That longer scale length, the Martin scale length, is 25.5 inches. So what's the big difference? Well, if you have a hard time doing bar chords, or if you feel like you're wrestling the guitar, the shorter scale length might be a great asset to you because the strings are a little bit looser. They're a little bit more noodly, whereas that longer scale length, the strings are essentially more taut. The frets are further apart too, just by physics of the guitar. But again, I'm not sure I answered that. Yeah, I like the longer scale length, the 25.5. Fret markers or no fret markers? I'm a fret markers. I feel like every one of these I change my opinion. I think this is actually a functional difference, right? Fret markers allow you to see where you're at on the guitar neck, period. And I'm talking about inlays or some sort of markings on the face of the fretboard. No fret markers, it's just all black. You don't know what you're looking at. I like the look of no fret markers. I think it's real classy, but fret markers serve a very distinct purpose. Today, if I were to choose, no fret markers. Next up, easy one, Neapolitan ice cream or just a single flavor? Are you just a chocolate or vanilla or strawberry person, or do you like them all together? I'm a single flavor guy. My wife is Neapolitan. Next up, light or medium gauge strings. I'm a medium gauge guy. I really dig it. I like the beefier strings. I think you get a little bit more punch, a little bit more volume out of them, whereas the lighter gauge strings, you get a little bit more sustain, a little bit more ring. Okay, here's one. Do you like a wider nut width or do you like a slimmer nut width? And when I talk about slimmer nut width, I'm thinking like 1.11/16. And when I'm talking about wider, I'm thinking like 1.75, 1.7/8. I like the wider nut. I feel like my fingers have a little bit more room to navigate. I feel like my chords can actually be a little bit cleaner on that wider nut because I quite simply have more physical space for my fingers. However, if you're a smaller handed person, that slimmer nut width might be a great asset because the neck quite simply is not as big. But for me, it's wider nut. Next up, I've only got two more. Dreadnought or small body. This is a really hard one for me because I love them both. If I was to pick today, small body. More laser-like projection, more focused, more balanced, whereas the Dreadnought is a little bit more bassy. It is louder though. But today, for me, small body. Small body. Plus, if you're a smaller player, the smaller body is just so much more easier to handle. Whereas the Dreadnought can feel like you're, trying to wrestle the guitar, like reach your hand up and over. Like if there's something on the other side of a fence, like a candy bar, and you wanted to reach over. That's what it feels like playing a Dreadnought sometimes. And then lastly, Rolling Stones or the Beatles? Beatles. That's really not even a question. Really, it's the Beatles. Rolling Stones aren't not as good as the Beatles, in my opinion, of course. Again, hopefully you're playing along in the comments below. I'm curious to see what you liked, this or that. And if you have any suggestions about future this or that, I'm open to those as well. Let me know in the comments. Now I want to set us up for a guitar story, and this one comes from John Lytle. This story kind of hit me in a way that I didn't expect. We all talk about the guitar as a healing emotional tool, but he went a couple levels deeper. The guitars kind of followed him around his whole life, but then it became something that maybe he didn't see in the first place. It's a really interesting story, and I cannot wait for you to hear it. first heard it in the jungle a lifetime ago. We were holed up at Doc's Hooch somewhere in Vietnam when a lone strummer from New York appeared cradling a six string. He could fingerpick melodies so soft and beautiful they could put you to sleep, and they did. Whenever he stopped, I'd wake up and beg him to keep playing. That was my first real exposure to the magic of the guitar, up close, personal, and unforgettable. After the war, I was discharged in Oakland and made my way back to Kansas the long way, through San Jose, Sacramento, Reno, Arizona, and New Mexico. When I finally resumed college on the GI Bill, I bought my first guitar. I had no formal training, just a stubborn dream and a few borrowed chords from friends like Randy and Murray, both fine musicians in their own right. That's when my guitar journey really began, and it's been going now for nearly 65 years. I'll turn 80 on my next birthday. I'm still chasing that moment when it all clicks, that flash where the music feels effortless, like breathing. I'm a picker and a grinner, a one-song beginner. But what the guitar gives me, peace, solitude, healing, can't be measured by chords or scales. I've never played to be recognized. I play for myself and for the occasional song shared with my family. It's my private joy. If I ever sold it out for applause, it would be for the wrong reasons. Along the way, there have been guitars that have passed through my life, each with their own story. An old D18 Martin, battered and broken, found its way back to my friend Randy. A handmade Greek guitar I picked up during a job stopover in Athens. A Hohner guitar from a dusty shop in Woodland Park, Colorado, its case stamped with shipping labels from all over the world, carrying echoes of Poco, Buffalo Springfield, and other legends. My everyday guitar now is a Zager travel guitar, a sturdy little 12-fret that fits perfectly into my daily life. In recent years, the guitar has become even more important. After 65 years addicted to nicotine and alcohol, two of the most brutal addictions known, I've been 4 years clean and sober from alcohol and 2 years free from nicotine. Nicotine was by far the harder demon to conquer. The guitar helped me get through the withdrawals. It still helps me get through the long days and quiet nights. I need it like I need breath. My family has served America in every major conflict since the Civil War. I carry that legacy with pride. But it's the quiet battles, the ones fought in silence, inside the heart, that the guitar has helped me win. And for that, I'll always be grateful. Dedicated to Roscoe. Every Friday, we email out a guitar story just like this to remind you what really matters, so your playing stays rooted in meaning, not just practice. If you'd like to receive the Friday email or submit a guitar story of your own, go to guitarstories.com. Now, at the beginning of the show, I asked, is it really possible to get better at guitar in 10 minutes a day? And I'm a firm believer in yes, it absolutely is. But my opinion doesn't matter in this regard because there's science that actually backs up that 10 minutes of guitar playing, just a measly little 10 minutes, can actually make you a better player. Let me read a couple of these studies for you. I don't have to infuse this with too much of my opinion because, well, it's there. The science shows it. So science actually backs up the power of short daily playing versus longer playing sessions that are infrequent or scattered. Check this out. A 2021 study from the National Institutes of Health found that taking short breaks between playing sessions allows your brain to, quote unquote, replay and reinforce skills up to 20 times faster than if you cram all your practice into one long session. How about that? Oh, wait, there's more. Similarly, sports science shows that weightlifters who trained twice daily for 15 minutes improved more quickly than those who did one long session per week, proving that frequency trumps duration. How about that? Oh, wait, there's another one? There's another one. And when it comes to guitar, a study published in Frontiers in Psychology found that musicians who played for 10 minutes daily made 30% faster progress in skill acquisition compared to those who played infrequently but for longer periods. So basically, we're just going to boil this down into this. Science backs up that if you're consistent with playing for 10 minutes a day, you'll be way further along than somebody who is inconsistent playing for an hour or 2 hours at a time. Chew on that for a second, because when I first started playing guitar, I just equated, the length of time played as getting better. So here's what I do. At the beginning of the week, this was during college, I would be like, okay, well, I'm going to practice for an hour a day, Monday through Friday. Easy. I was in college, right? I didn't have anything to do. That's what I thought. Monday, I'd hit it, feel good. Tuesday, work or some sort of school project would come up. So I'd be like, okay, well, I'll practice for 2 hours on Wednesday. Wednesday comes around. I don't have 2 hours. So I'm like, well, I can't do that. And then I try and keep rolling over the time. And then it snowballs into this thing where it's unmanageable. Where if I would have just said, okay, minimum 10 minutes a day, Monday through Friday, I would have kept my progress going instead of having to restart every time I picked up the guitar. So little fun facts to chew on there. Pretty pumped about it. Pretty pumped to find those studies. It's nice to have a feeling and be promoting something and being able to lean on actual research that says, yeah, 10 minutes a day consistently is way better than these hour practice sessions that are so infrequent. I'm pretty excited to find that stuff. And it hit me pretty hard because I've felt the benefit of the 10 minutes, but to actually see that 10 minutes is kind of the way, that's pretty darn cool. And speaking of cool facts, I owe you a trivia answer, okay? So if you don't remember what your question was, let me go ahead and recite that for you. In what year did Martin start the CEO series? With, of course, the CEO1. Well, if you said 1997, you're bang on. The Martin CEO series started in 1997. It represents a line of special edition guitars designed by the CEO of Martin Guitars, initially CF Chris Martin IV, and now Thomas Ripsum. These guitars are often unique, incorporating unconventional materials and designs, sometimes referencing other guitar brands. We can read through the lines there. A lot of times this is Martin's excuse to make Gibsons. That's what it is. That's what it is. Not all of them, but some of them. I'm particularly remembering, I think it was like CEO 4, 5, and 6. Anyways, you can do your own research on that. With that, I think it's time for me to sign off. But before I sign off, I do want to make mention, if you're an older beginner that's just learning guitar, you really got to check out Tony's Acoustic Challenge. Every single week, I teach you the fundamentals of guitar through an actual song. So not only are you learning guitar, you're learning to play pretty awesome nostalgic songs as well. Songs that you grew up with, songs that you and I both know and love. So please check that out. There's a link in the description below. Now, I do owe you a sneak peek into next week as well. And next week we have a guitar story for the ages, okay? It turns out you can not only teach an old dog new tricks, you can teach an old dog to do something they never thought they would, even at 77 years old. I cannot wait for you to hear this story. It is a doozer. And also, we're gonna look at the D chord, just the D chord. We're gonna clean it up. I'm gonna show you how to fret it properly. And I'm gonna show you how with that one chord shape, you can pretty much play an entire song. And it's really cool. One stinking measly little chord shape, you can play an entire song. What else we got going on here? I'm also gonna ooh, this is a fun one. I'm also going to show you the sonic difference between a guitar with a laminate top and a guitar with a solid top. These two guitars are identical in every way, shape, and form, except for the top material. Laminate versus solid top, and it's done on a budget too. These guitars, I think, are both under $300. I haven't checked, but they're pretty darn close, if not exactly under $300. And we're going to do a bunch more next week. So I can't wait to see you next week. I want to thank you for joining me this week on the Acoustic Tuesday show. Remember, you can catch Acoustic Tuesday every single Tuesday at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. And please do remember this. Your guitar success, however you define it for yourself, is directly related to your guitar routine. So please invest the time in developing your guitar routine and make sure to have fun every single day that you play. And of course, be consistent. Remember the whole science thing? We did a whole thing about that. But fun is the bottom line. If you have more fun, you're more likely to play. If you're more likely to play, you achieve more progress. If you achieve more progress, you're more likely to have fun, and then the whole thing starts again. It's this wonderful perpetual cycle that you just don't want to get off. It's like a roller coaster. You don't want to get off. Thanks again for joining me today. I really appreciate your time, and I'll see you next Tuesday on the Acoustic Tuesday show. Cheers to you.